I'm so glad you're here today. Welcome back. Today, we're going to dive right into strategies that'll help you manage stress while balancing running your business and having a life. Work and personal life can be really hard to juggle, especially when your business is your life and it can lead to feeling burnt out. The goal is to be able to do what's most important when it's most important without feeling stressed about everything else getting done. I'm Lisa, and I help business owners figure out how they can reduce their work week by at least 10 hours each week without trying harder or working harder. So often we talk about work-life balance, and I don't really love that term. I feel work-life integration is a much more realistic term. Balance tends to imply 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of personal stuff, and that's really not realistic. Instead, the goal is making sure that you're able to do those things that are most important to you when they're most important without feeling super stressed about everything else that's going on. So here's a couple strategies on how you can manage that work-life integration. So our first one is actually know what's most important. So if our goal is to do what's most important, when it's most important that we do it, knowing what's most important would be key. Then once you can identify these are the priorities for you, for personal and for your business, then schedule them into the calendar. That ensures that you have the space available to attend to those priorities. Secondly, we want to reduce the stress that comes with being out of the office or knowing there's so much work to get done. In that case, start to build in whatever structure you need or strategies you need to make sure that the other important priorities in your life are getting taken care of while you're doing those things that are most important. So let me give you an example. I feel like I kind of talked in a circle there. So here's an example. One of my clients is a CPA, and spending time with her family is definitely a priority. And we know what happens at the beginning of the year. We're heading into tax time, and the work hours can definitely increase during this finite period of time. And so what she did last week, she took a 3-day trip down to see her parents out of state. This allowed her to spend time with the people who are most important and not stress about the work getting done for 2 reasons. One, she's planning it before the influx of work comes in. But secondly, while she's there, she has her team back in the office taking care of regular tax things, but also systematizing and looking at ways that they can be more effective and more efficient throughout tax time. So she doesn't need to be in the office to do those things. They can handle it. And she can address one of her priorities, which is spending time with family. Another strategy to help that work-life integration and reduce the feeling of feeling burnt out is actually sleep. I know it can be tough. Your mind is running 100 miles a minute as soon as you wake up. And so it can be difficult to sleep, especially if you wake up at like 2 a.m. Like, how do you fall back to sleep with all that stuff in your head? And so here's a couple things that you can do. One, set your day up in the office before you leave. And so what I mean by that is make sure that you've captured messages, you've moved emails into action items, identified all the Post-it notes and gathered them in one place. And then you've identified your top 3 things you want to get done for the following day. So when you can close up the office with a plan for the next day, that absolutely helps you sleep and helps you fall back to sleep when you wake up in the middle of the night. And that's just the first step, because the next thing that you want to do is do a brain dump before you go to bed. So you're in your office, identify what needs to happen the next day, and you walk away. But what happens throughout the rest of the evening is things are still rolling in your head. There's a phone call you had from someone that you didn't jot anything down about, and now you're trying to make sure that you remember it for tomorrow. Don't. Just take everything, dump it onto a piece of paper, and you can then use it in the morning and reprioritize your day if you need to, but just capture it, get it out of your head. So step 1, set up the day the night before. Step 2, dump everything out of your head that is still floating in there that's happening between when you left the office until when you went to bed. Then the next thing is when you wake up in the middle of the night, because it'll happen, and with other thoughts that may be coming into your head, go ahead and jot them down on a notepad. Make it easy for you to fall back to sleep by not having to remember what's going on. Now, one of the keys here is a notepad. Notice I didn't say put it in your phone, and this comes from experience. I used to send an email to myself in the middle of the night to remind myself of whatever it was that was in my head. The temptation is way too great then to start going through email and then jump on social media and then schedule some text messages to go out later in the day. Like all of that stuff can happen when your phone is super handy. So instead, jot it on a notepad. And then the last thing that'll help you get more sleep is meditation. I have an app on my phone and I will go ahead and do that. And so all the other apps are hidden on a secondary screen. The only app on the front screen is actually the meditation app. So it makes it very easy for me to listen to that, to put in a meditation, close my eyes, fall back to sleep without being tempted to jump in and look at email, things like that. Taking breaks throughout your day will also help reduce the stress that can happen from just having a lot to do and trying to integrate work and life and everything at once. Here are the characteristics of a good break. It's around 20 minutes. You are moving outside, it's social, and you're disconnected from work and electronics. One of the things that I've started doing is around 2-3 o'clock, which tends to be my downtime. I go out as long as the weather's nice and take about a 20-minute break. And it can look a little different. Sometimes I'll call one of my parents and just check in, see how things are going. So that's like the social part. So I'm outside moving, connected, not talking about business. Other times I might listen to a podcast. Sometimes I'll listen to a walking meditation. Sometimes I listen to the radio. Sometimes I listen to nothing. And I just let my brain be free. But no matter what, it's outside moving in at least 20 minutes. When the weather's not great, I'll do some yoga, or I may just read a book, a paper book, not electronic, not business related, just something to kind of relax my brain. I also will do 6 directions of the spine, which is something that Freya Ramsey at Taproot Yoga in Chardon, Ohio has taught me. And basically you're just moving your spine forward and backwards and then to each side. And then you twist back and forth. And those are your 6 movements, and just some stretching and some reaching and moving, because it's so easy when we're just sitting at our desk to get all cramped in there. And so being able to move around and stretch, that will help release any tension or stress that you may be feeling as you're working to get everything done and balance life and work. One of the things that really can cause that burnt out feeling and that stressed out feeling is when your brain is going, 50 miles an hour. One of the ways that you can limit that is to set up a really strong morning and evening routine. Some of my clients do morning pages. Other clients will say, I'm not starting my day before 10 a.m. and they'll go through a very specific routine that includes exercise, meditation, goal setting, taking care of their kids, like whatever that may look like. Other clients take Monday off and work Tuesday through Friday. You need to find what's your routine look like. So for me, I meditate in the morning and I work and I spend a couple minutes, about 5, maybe 10 minutes total, in a gratitude journal. That tends to set me up in a relaxed state to take on my day. Another thing that helps with helping you feel more mindful and more in the moment and focus more on what's important, which will reduce the stress, is not multitasking. Mindfulness, multitasking, 2 completely different things. And you want to be able to focus on one thing at a time, one thing until completion. When you're multitasking, it takes extra brain power. Decision making is so much harder. It takes longer to get things done. So your stress is increasing all along the way. One of the ways that you can be more mindful, reduce your multitasking, first is awareness. Where are the places that you're multitasking? What happens? What causes you to do one thing and then start to do another thing at the same time? Once you can identify that, then you can go into the work phase, AWE, awareness, work, evaluation. You can go in the work phase and start to reduce the triggers that cause you to multitask. And then finally, evaluation. Every couple hours, just check in and see, how are you feeling? Is your brain all over the place, or do you feel calm and collected and composed? One of the things, the biggest thing that helps reduce multitasking is turning off all your apps. Every time you get pinged, every time you get a notification floating in on your phone or on your computer screen, it pulls your attention. And human nature, you just want to address that right at the same time that you're working on whatever it is you're working on. Being able to do the things that are most important to us when they're most important to us without stressing about everything else getting done is a great goal. It requires delegating and asking for help. We each only have so much capacity. There's no way that one person can do everything. There's that quote out there, you can do everything but not at once. It's kind of that idea. So you need to reach out, however that may look. Many of us are stronger in one area or the other. For some, it may be easier to ask for help delegating than it is to ask for help on the personal side, and vice versa. However, it's the same concept. We just look at it a little bit differently. So the first thing that you want to think about is identifying what are the things that you're actually doing. In order to get the work done, whether on the business or on the personal end, you need to know what is the work that you are working on. The next thing that you want to do is, what is it that you need to do? What's your part in this? On the business side, we typically call this your zone of genius. It's that area where you are uniquely gifted at something and it moves the business forward and you love to do it. And you take those three things, there's an intersection point, that's your zone of genius. When we look at it from a personal side, often we're looking at it, where can you make the most impact? Thinking like making lunches versus writing the note to put into a lunch that was already made, or driving carpool versus having a quality conversation before bedtime. Where's the most impact there? Because as long as you take your piece of where you make the most impact, those other things, those can be delegated out or ask for help, however you want to look at this, whatever phrasing works best for you. Once you're reaching out and delegating or asking for help, you want to be really specific. This is what I would like you to do. This is by when I would like for it to be done. Here are the things that are most important about getting this done. This is the outcome. This is what I'm looking for. One area that I find is a struggle, whether it's delegating on the business side or asking for help on the personal side, or however you think about it, is that accuracy. How accurate does it need to be in order for it to be considered done? Do you really need to reorganize the dishwasher? Or if the dishes aren't clean, could you just run it twice? Maybe you're in a place where water conservation is a very important thing, in which case, yeah, the dishwasher needs to be loaded a certain way. Maybe you have a great dishwasher, and even if the dishes aren't loaded exactly the way you want them to be, they'll still get clean. It seems like a trite example. However, take that and expand it out into so many different places where you're delegating and asking for help. At what level does this have to be completed at in order for it to be a success? Many times we are so busy running our business, so busy going from one activity to another in our personal life, that we just get used to the way things are and don't necessarily recognize that we're feeling burnt out or fatigued or stressed. So here's a couple of things that you can think about that may help you recognize that things aren't going as smoothly as you would hope they were. And I'm going to just pull these from my personal life and from that of clients. One is the resentment bar. Like, are you starting to resent when people ask you for things that 6 months ago you would have happily said, sure, I can handle that? Or are you resenting going into the office? Or are you resenting having to go to a gymnastics meet? Or, what does that look like? Are you feeling grumpy? Another one is, do you feel frustrated? Like you're at work and you feel like you're missing out with family, or you're out doing yoga and you feel like you should be back in the office. That's another sign that you're stressed and heading down that burnout path. Tired. When you wake up in the morning, do you have energy? Or is it a slog to get there? One of the ways that I know that I'm definitely getting stressed or burnt out is that I'm not as effective. It's harder to make decisions. I really struggle being creative, or like everything comes out and is just kind of flat. Like my work product's not great. My ideas are just okay. Like you could Google it and you'd get the same answer I just gave you. And so that's when I know I definitely need to take a break and reassess what's happening in my life and in my calendar that's causing me to not be at my best self. One of the major challenges when it comes to integrating work and life, or work-life balance, if that's your preferred phrase, is boundaries. And I have clients all the time will say, I'm horrible at boundaries. I'm really bad at boundaries. And maybe that's your reality also. So here's a couple ideas on how you can incorporate some healthy boundaries into your personal and your business lives. One, decide what you want the boundary to be. One of the reasons sometimes that clients are not great with boundaries is they haven't even decided what the boundary looks like. So then as every request comes in, it's just easy to say yes because they haven't thought about what do they really want to say yes to. So really decide what your boundaries to look like. And then secondly, communicate those out. Set the boundary, communicate the boundary so that people are aware of what the boundary is. And then finally, you want to uphold the boundary, which I know seems simple to say. And once you set it and you communicate it, it becomes a lot easier to actually uphold the boundary. Let's talk about setting boundaries at work. Here are some of the common boundaries that my clients will set, and they'll fall into three different categories. One is their work time. Another is when they'll work with clients, and then finally when they'll work with their team. So let's talk about your work time. When is it that you want to be uninterrupted? So one of my clients, 8 to 10, they are uninterrupted, no clients, no team. They use that time to process their email and to do their professional development work, 8 to 10 every morning. Another one of my clients' boundary is that they will not work past 3:30 because they have a 4 o'clock exercise class that they go to every day. Many of my clients who absolutely will not work on weekends, and some even take a 4-day weekend once a month. So that's what it looks like around boundaries around your work. Next, when will you work with clients? I work with clients on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I have other clients who they do their face-to-face client works at the beginning of the week. Some other ones at the end of the week. Another boundary when it comes to clients is when will you return phone calls and emails? Some return them middle of the day and end of the day. Other ones say it's a 1 business day on a return. I have other clients who say it's 1 week. And another boundary around that is how quickly do you return work? So one of my clients is a graphic designer, and no matter what, it's a 5-day turnaround time. Nothing is to be expected less than 5 days. That helps reduce the stress when you have those boundaries clearly created and then communicated out. Everyone's on the same page. Another area in your business that you can set boundaries around is when will you work with your team? Is it open door all the time? Or one of my clients, they have set meetings every week and they can email questions anytime they want and he'll get back to them within a day, maybe 2 days, but they know that they also have that face time to get their answers. One of my other clients, she allows open office hours. And so for a 2-hour block each day, her team member can ask her any questions that they need. I have another client who's a lawyer, and her deal with her employees is you can ask me questions anytime you need to, except when I am working on really intense projects, and she has those notated in her calendar. And so they know if there's a purple block on her calendar, they're not allowed to ask questions. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you're able to find some of these strategies helpful. But now I want to hear from you. What are your tips and tricks for managing stress? Let me know in the comment section below. I look forward to reading your ideas, and I hope to see you next time.